Hey guys, I'm Emily Dubious, and this month I got my first ScrawlrBox. ScrawlrBox is an art subscription service. You pay £15 a month and they send you a box with random arty goodies in it. It's great fun. This month I got in mine, among other things, some watercolour brush markers. Now I'd never really used these before, and even though I do dabble in watercolours, it's not really anything I am particularly experienced with. So this was very much a learning experience for me, as you will probably see from my results. I have done two pieces, which you'll see in a moment, and I'm going to show you a side-by-side of me doing them, because I think what they show is an interesting sort of how even just doing something twice can really increase your skill level. When you first start learning something, you improve quite fast, and then the better you get, the sort of flatter that curve gets, which is quite interesting in itself. You should think about trying this as well. If you're trying a new medium and you do it for the very first time and it's rubbish, don't worry about it. Go have a cup of tea, have a sit down, but do it a second time. Either the same picture or a similar theme or a similar picture, and just do it again, same materials, have another go, look at your first and your second side by side, and I would be incredibly surprised if you didn't see huge improvement even just doing it a second time. So never be disheartened if the first time you try something it looks rubbish. The first time anyone draws anything, it's gonna be rubbish. That's the point of practicing and learning. All that matters is you enjoy it. And I did thoroughly enjoy making both of these pieces, so that's all that really matters, eh? Anywho, without further ado, let's have a look at these pieces. Which, by the way, the theme, ScrawlrBox also sends you a theme to do some art with. This month was it Daydreamer, I think, or Daydream, or something like that. So yeah, let's have a look.
Okay, so the very first thing you may notice is that the second video is much faster than the first. This is because the second drawing took me over an hour, whereas the first one took me only 35 minutes. That was the main difference between these two. As you'll see now, the second one, I also use my fine liner. I brought the fine liner into the second one because it brought the piece a bit more into my comfort zone, which, given that I had burst completely out of it in the first one, I thought was fair, just to help give this piece a bit more, I don't know, consistency, I suppose, to my other work. Here I also have some different techniques. So with the second one, you'll see me now I'm wetting the paper a lot, whereas with the first one, I went straight in with the watercolor pencil, straight onto the fish. Whereas, and also when I use the pens, I don't wet the paper first. I generally put the pen straight down, as you'll see me doing there now, and then brush it out with some water. By the second one, I thought I'd try wetting the paper first to see if I could get more of that effect that I was actually after. And I think it was quite successful. You can see me going through here. I almost immediately regretted the yellow in the first picture as I did it. Sort of straight away, I felt like this wasn't the move, and actually it was taking the piece away from what I'd hoped for. I was trying to inject a feeling of the word day, because the prompt was daydreamer. I thought to take it away from just being a dream, I thought by putting a big yellow colour splotch behind it, it might suggest daytime and daylight and make it a bit more day themed, but I almost straight away regretted that. Another thing for the second one then is that I planned the second one out a lot more. I thought about it. Having done the first one, it made it more clear in my head actually what I wanted and the effect I was after. So the second one is much more thought through, it's much more carefully planned. Another thing you can see with the second one is I've taken the paper out of the pad and stuck it to the table so that the buckling is not quite so bad in the second one as it was the first, and I have a bit more control over the paper. Since I spoke about how much I regretted doing the yellow background in the first one, I want to just talk about the yellow background in the second one, which I am delighted with, really. Those big circles of sort of deep colour, which you'll see in a moment, I start going behind them with some circles of a very pale wash, so pale you almost don't see it in the video, and then in between I do a bit of green. It just brought together all of those colours I was going for in the first one are there in the second one, but this sort of circle thing just gave it a much better texture, broke it up a bit, and was just wholeheartedly a lot more successful. I was much more pleased with the background in the second one. I'm also happier with the fish. in the second one, as you'll see me go on to now. The fish in the second one are obviously more clear lined. I use the line art, they're more defined. The first one I was going for that sort of washy, ethereal thing that a lot of watercolor artists do, and it just failed. I don't know how to do that. I don't know how they do it. I don't know how that works with watercolor. That is not something I've had any practice with, and I was just trying it without even looking up any videos of how to do it or anything. So unsurprisingly, it didn't work. So for the second one, I tied together watercolor with my style of line art so that the watercolor was acting more as a shade rather than the shape. So it was color and texture over form, which I think works a lot better. As you can see in the second one, the fish, I think, look much, much, much better, much more fun. I loved doing highlighting on the scales. I loved doing the watercolor pencil texture over the top of the wash. That's probably one of my favourite things from this, was that technique of using the pencil, scrubbing down with the pencil, using some water to get a wash, letting that dry, and then going over again with the pencil to get some textures. Here on my second one, and I think on the first one as well, you'll see me adding highlights, which I do at the end of both with my Posca markers, and that really, highlights at the end of a watercolour, I really think make a piece. If you ever think your piece isn't looking great, try adding some highlights.
As you can see, the lighting's changed. That's because someone forgot to film their outro when they were filming their intro, and now it's dark outside. Anywho, sorry for that weird noise during the end of that voiceover. It was my laptop trying to take off into space. I will figure out what that is and source a new method next time. Hopefully that won't happen again. But thank you very much for watching. And I'm saying again. I've got to try and stop saying Maybe I should have an jar on the on the screen, and every time I say I have to put money in it. Anywho, thanks so much for watching. This was great fun. I had a laugh. I hope you did. And I hope that if you were on the fence about ScrawlrBox, or worried that, you know, sort of worried that ScrawlrBox would make you feel pressured into making great stuff, then don't feel pressured. I mean, I know it's easy to say, just don't feel pressured, but seriously, not everybody who gets ScrawlrBox is a fantastic artist who can make beautiful things just by sneezing at it, as some artists can. Some of us are just out here having a laugh, having a good time, and you can too, because that's what it's all about in the end. Get your art in gear, get yourself some art supplies, draw, join in, let's have a good time. Thank you very much. Catch you guys later. Bye.